Well, we'll call the meeting to order since we have a little rambunctiousness in the group.
Punctuality comment.
Yeah. Okay, we need a approval or additions, corrections to the minutes of the following meeting held on February 9th, 2022.
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next one is request for summer help.
Do we have some kids that are returning?
We do not. I mean, we took a 2-year break because of the fire, yeah. So this year, I think, we've had the office request one and the water department. Now, I don't know how, if the commission approves them, I guess I don't know how optimistic we're gonna be able to get people to fill them. The city looks like it's trying to get past an increase. They used to start them about $12. Now they're gonna try to get it approved $14.50, I think, at the HR committee meeting this week.
It's, I think it starts at 12 and if you come back seasonally, it goes up to 14.
That's the way it used to be. They're gonna try to change it
Right.
to 14.50.
There's gonna be an increase because they're having trouble attracting, so.
So, I think we're gonna try to place some flyers and stuff at the high schools and what have you, see what we come up with. We don't have any employee kids of age that would want to do it.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do about
may-
the pay, the rate of pay? You gonna do like the
I-
city?
Probably around $14 or $15 an hour, whatever it takes us to get a body in here.
Okay.
And if we can't find anybody, then I'll let you know.
I think there's a job fair at the high school and I believe, I know the gentleman from Parks was gonna attend up there.
They were there this week, weren't we? Yeah, at the high school at Lincoln.
I think there's a,
We participate in that every year.
okay.
Financial literacy, yeah, check, I don't know if that's the same thing, but
You're talking about a job fair, right?
It's a job fair, yeah.
this was something different.
Okay, well,
You have to be 18?
Yes. 18 and you have to be either registered to go to college or in college.
Are those
They're pretty
really,
stringent. What?
are those necessary requirements, the last two?
Well, yes, they're currently in our policies, so until we change them, they're necessary.
But just for FYI, when we were working on youth apprenticeships, Ocean Spray, for example, wouldn't let anybody in under 18. But we worked with them and we had a number of youth apprentices in there at 16 or 17.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at kids that start early that graduate, they're not even 18 yet, so.
Okay, can college be MSTC?
I think so, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because otherwise, there's probably quite a group that you would exclude if it's,
Yeah, it's the junior colleges as well.
well, I would move for approval for the hire of 2 individuals for summer employment at the rate of $14 or $15 per hour.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. John made the motion, Rick second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is there anything different in the duties outlined for the 2 this year, or is this kind of just the standard summer help thing?
That's usually what our summer help,
Does?
yeah, they usually are at the front counter.
We also have the crunch in the office. We know the city's charging down the streets utility program, so we're gonna have time in the office spent getting that into our billing system and ready to go prior to whatever they're ready, June, I think they're targeting.
And there again, a lot of the banks utilize youth apprenticeship students that are 16, 17 years old. No.
Well, they're not really using any equipment, so.
Right.
I mean, the
can't
office
drive
could
any of our vehicles.
Right.
That's the other thing.
Without being 18 or
They have to be
16?
18 because they're still
Okay.
probationary
Unofficial.
residents.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have questions answered. All in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Okay, thank you. Simplified water case.
So we talked about this when we went through the 2022 budget, that we were going to plan to implement the simplified water rate case during 2022 because of primarily the declining industrial usage. This is just going through and asking for the formal request from the commission to do that. So if we did up 3%, which is what the simplified rate cases do from the Public Service Commission, that would increase the monthly service fee, the usage fee, plus the public fire protection charge. And for a average residential customer, if they use about 6 units of water per month, which is just under 4,500 gallons, that would be an additional $1.13 per month charge to our residential customers. It would still keep us within that goal that we have of being the median of Wood and Portage counties. We would still stay within that below the median rate.
Have we looked to see what the inflation impact is on waterworks and lighting?
No.
Are we gonna far exceed this percentage with what's gonna happen?
I mean, costs are going up all over the place. I mean, when you look at transformers or the materials we're bringing in, this is gonna help, but it's not going to fix the problem at all. 3% across the board is roughly about $150,000 in revenue, which we're seeing probably, 20-30% increases on some materials, 40-50.
Couple 100% something.
So with the simplified rate case, does that preclude then a full rate case, or when would be the opportunity for the next full rate increase?
So we could do a full rate case at any point when our rate of return says we need to. The PSC allows utilities to go through the simplified process, because it's quicker. They turn these around in about 30 days. So we could implement this probably in May or June. The other thing, you can do this within a 5-year window of having a traditional rate case. So they allow you to do these once a year within that 5-year window. And it just makes it simpler for all utilities, particularly some of the smaller utilities that might not have the staff or the resources to go through the full rate case and pay a consultant to do that. So it's just kind of an easier mechanism to increase your rates slowly, as opposed to having these huge 40-50% water rate increases every 5, 6, 7 years.
The electric side doesn't allow for simplified rate cases, we have to do a full-blown rate case every time we do that.
We did do a simplified rate case, haven't we? Recently?
The last one we did was in 2000, well, our full rate case was in 2019.
2009, that's when we did it at 18, but it took till 19,
Well,
right?
we started it in 18, it was implemented in 19. That was a full one. I believe the last simplified one we did was probably in 17 or 16.
Oh, really? I thought we did one between that. Okay.
This will be the first one since our last water rate case.
I'd make a motion to approve the 3% simplified water rate case.
Second.
Okay, Rick made the motion, John second. Any other discussion? All in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays?
And John, regarding your remark, I mean, if we run into budget issues, which may happen with the price of everything increasing, then you'll be the first to know. We'll be back at the commission.
Yeah,
Letting you know. I know that Todd is probably gonna try to order transformers abnormally early to get them for next year sometime, so that'll be on the agenda too, and then maybe we can kinda
You mean
do a
for,
little summary of,
you mean for 23?
correct.
Okay.
You can't even get a placeholder for 23 at the moment because our distributors are trying to work with the transformer manufacturers to see what kind of allotment they can have. So they're not taking any orders from us until they get that figured out. So
So, but you have transformers coming for 22.
Yeah, that we ordered back in the summer of '21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these prices are going up anyway, and now you throw in this Russia thing, which is a source of copper and nickel and
Yeah, palladium.
energy and, yeah, palladium. I mean, things could go really nuts here.
Mhm.
Well, I
They
think-
already have, even
Yeah, well,
before that.
Yeah, exactly. And I assume we have a pretty good energy bill just to be operational here too, right? Yeah, I mean, just for our operation, you know, so we're gonna have to watch this.
Okay, safety committee, meeting minutes. Okay, you brought up the excavation and trenching program. Could you briefly tell us what exactly goes through that, or what the employees have to look for?
When we're going through the safety programs, when we're reviewing those, it's really, there's not much that changes with the programs. The programs, safety programs are an OSHA regulation requirement. They really get the meat and potatoes of it at training. So when we have training, we'll probably have excavation training April-ish, April or May, and try to get it right before essentially excavation digging season, if you will. Just to make sure the guys are aware, we go over hazards, we go over soil types again, we go over shoring, just different safety measures with excavations. It's sadly a hot topic every single year with people not doing it correctly, people getting buried. It's one of
We've got
those.
all the right equipment here, right? So there's no need for that type of risk.
The risk is minimal thanks to the measures that the crews are taking. We got lots of sand here in Rapids, so there's not a lot of trenching to be heard of because you really can't. So there's a lot more things that are dug out farther, but the guys know. We got a couple of really good guys in the water crew that really do well with the excavator. When I say Josh is one of the guys, and just, they do a good job. They know how to keep their guys safe. Still good to go over things though.
Any other questions? If not, the line superintendent report.
The call in for the charter line down, is that our responsibility or how does that?
It's not, but nobody knows until they come in.
Okay,
They just call it a line down.
okay.
They usually call it a power line.
So-
It's once a month.
With the talk about the 5G equipment being put up on the utility poles, I assume that would be, that's not our responsibility, right? They're just leasing the pole space or whatever.
Right.
Any other questions? If not, the water department report.
Are the folks that are doing the lining project, are they holding to their quote? We're not seeing that in place?
So far, I believe, we haven't got past all the paperwork yet as far as PSC and everything else, so far they are, but it could very liable to change. See how it goes. Nothing guaranteed at this point,
So they do have that option.
I believe so.
Still waiting on PSC approval for the project, but the size of the PSC approval.
When they bid, is the bid good for a certain amount of time or is there contingencies?
Well, I think there is, but there's always some provisions or contract language within the bid that allows them, if people are raising their prices, to pass it on.
So you had 2 water main breaks within a block of each other on Second, is that right? And we're pretty close.
Yeah,
So are there other issues or is this just typical winter?
typical time of year, it's not uncommon. You may get an area of town where you get more breaks this year compared to prior years, whatever, it's just the ground shifts and the pipe age all kind of comes into equation.
Overall, it hasn't been a bad year, how many we had?
How many
It's
freezes?
about 10. So, our average is typically 15 to 33, so at this point, we're still below average, but we still got falling out to go yet, so.
Any other questions? If not, the customer support supervisor's report.
Good to see the good results on collections. I was asking, this 15 properties were disconnected and 6 reconnected, so we still have 9 out there?
There were a few more that have been reconnected since then. So I think we have about 5 properties that are still disconnected for the
So
winter.
they're basically under another wall at that point. right?
Correct. Mhm.
51 commercial accounts, is that unusual?
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is there a reason for that?
I really don't know. You know, most of them pay by the time it comes to disconnection. We have very few commercial properties that we disconnect.
Yeah.
Just for clarity on this, utility received 31,000 in energy assistance. And the chart is showing the utility received in energy assistance. We received that or the community
The
members?
customers received that. We
Yeah.
processed all the payments
Right,
on their accounts, correct?
okay,
The customers received it.
right.
So you're saying it comes directly to us?
It does.
Okay.
And then we basically
We applied to their
debit the
account,
account. so-
correct. Mhm.
Any other questions, comments? Other than Lynn's doing a great job. Super. The Director of Finance report.
Was there a rationale behind that change in billing for the health insurance?
I think last year they were just behind a little bit
Oh,
on
okay.
getting it to us, which is just why the month-to-month statements look worse this year than last year, but just because it was a little bit later on them. I don't know if it was staffing issues last year or what the issue was.
Can someone elaborate a little bit on this pumping expense? And why
That's a frequency drive.
it's not logical to me that a variable frequency drive,
Well, I think what we're talking there is we bought a spare drive for like $15,000, so that was an expense that normally we wouldn't have had. I think that's what we're talking about.
It's
okay, so
just
this is
sitting
not
right now.
like the ongoing cost.
No.
No,
Okay.
Was that just a replacement? Did you
We
buy a
actually- we
replacement and a
actually-
spare?
we actually bought a spare to have on hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the electric administrative general expense, is that partly due to the city handling of the way they paid insurance, or is this part of the beginning of the year paying all the,
They just took a little longer last year.
Okay.
I think it was more of just a staffing issue to get us the bills, where we didn't get them until the middle of March for January, February at the time, where this year they were more on time. So we were able to put it back in January before we closed the month out.
The 5G infrastructure on our poles, and I'm not familiar how this works, but once that's on the pole, is that the exclusive property of US Cellular, or is like AT&T or Verizon gonna wanna put equipment on there as well? I mean, do they share that as part of like a network or no?
My understanding is it's US Cellular's network at that point, and then if AT&T or Sprint or whatever wants to have a 5G network, they would find their locations, kind of like we have each of the carriers is on one of our water towers.
Okay.
So they're each on a different one, and they
Okay.
don't really, they have their own
Okay,
properties.
so their own. And can you give us some idea of what you're talking about in terms of what they're proposing or we're proposing in terms of fees?
There's a annual fee right around, it's about $300 per pole, between $250 and $300 per pole per year that they would be paying to have that stuff on there, on our infrastructure. They would also be
Pay
responsible.
for all our expenses to get the pole ready for it to be installed. So if we have to replace a pole or move some wires around, they have to incur those expenses.
And another question, I think it's in my notes later, but in the east in particular, there was a big flap about this 5G interfering with aviation navigation. Are we sure that we don't have that situation here?
I'm thinking we're not sure, but none of the 5G 14 locations are by the airport. They're all downtown, Lincoln High School, hospital. So there's nothing in real close proximity to the airport, but I would assume that would be on US Cellular to figure out if their equipment is gonna interfere with that.
But our contract should make damn sure that they're responsible.
Yeah, we can definitely bring
Make
that
sure
up
that's
in
in there, so.
conversation.
I believe there's some radio frequency provisions in that. Not just for, for like ham radio operators and all those things. If they're interfering with frequencies, anybody else's frequencies, they need to correct those issues.
Okay. Because I know they actually changed flight patterns and then they forced the phone companies to tone down the signal strength and.
Well, I didn't read anything on that, so we'll
Yeah.
definitely bring that up.
Okay.
I think that was United or on the air, wasn't it? And they felt a lot of the, could interfere with the avionics or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was several
Yeah.
larger airports, JFK and Newark and.
Probably similar things where they have tack-ons all around it, so there's a hot spot.
Right.
I'm assuming, Jeff, on the investment report, that the data acquired on US Treasury. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I see that now that you're talking.
Okay.
That would have been 21.
Yeah.
Any other questions of Jeff? If not, the information systems administrator report.
You're all multi-factor.
On the server side and the VPN side, we're still working on workstations. Workstations are kind of the low priority. They're inside our network and they're not open to the internet per se. So, but we'll get it done this month.
Supply chain, huh?
Yeah, the computer hardware and network equipment, it's all back ordered to 2023. I just found that out last week.
So that's gonna affect your SCADA timeline then too?
It is. We're working to see if we can find something with one of the vendors that'll work to get that project completed this year. We're hoping to find something in a warehouse somewhere.
Ours, it's not as old as what you have.
Right.
How about the conservation manager report?
So what's a 20 kilowatt limit? What's the significance of that for the focus on energy incentives? Is that like the typical residential size or?
Yes,
business
residential
size or-
is anything under 20 kW.
Okay,
There's an incentive for both commercial over 20 kW as well as
oh,
residential. In this case, the two new applications we received will be under that 20 kW. That incentive, typically anything over that, like a 3 kW system is gonna run about $500
okay.
incentive to that array project.
Have you made the visit to Metalco yet, or, because you were talking about preparing for that?
Yes, we did last week. It was important, I guess, we had visited them probably 6-7 months ago. But I wanted to make sure that the focus on energy advisors got a walkthrough so they could be familiar with the new facility, just to see if there was anything there that possibly was missed in the new construction incentives that they received from Focus. It went well, especially due to they were adding a new warehouse off the east side of the building, which is going to be aluminum scrap warehouse. No heating, would be kind of an open concept. We'll just have LED lighting in it. So, it was a good time for us to go over the new construction on that, make sure that they have the applications filled out for the LED lighting incentive that will be available.
Did they give any indication are they up to full capacity or?
Yeah, at this point they are.
They are.
Yeah, it's consistent, leveled out, absolutely.
I know they were having employment, a lot like everybody, right? Employment concerns.
And it looks like they still are,
Yeah.
to some extent. However, so are a lot of the other large industrial customers. Same thing, it's not just Metalco.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? If not, the electrical engineers report.
So you think this grease will take care of your corrosion issue?
Yeah, it's essentially just a protective coating on it, so really no air will be able to get to it, which is, moist air is what's our enemy at this point.
Sounds shaky.
What does?
That grease would be sufficient protection. Just because of its unlikely that it would adhere through temperature cycles. It's gonna have a viscosity, it's gonna flow at some point.
Dielectric grease isn't meant to flow like most greases are. It's meant to stay and protect whatever it's coated on.
And is there something special in the Allen Bradley type that, or
Just-
you gotta do it per spec or something?
So
Yeah,
when you shop for dielectric grease, you can find silicone dielectric grease at stores. But Allen Bradley recommends you use non-silicone dielectric grease. and I wasn't able to find that anywhere in stores. And that's what they have in a kit that is for some item that they have, and it's a kit that comes with some dielectric grease in it. We're trying to get just the grease instead of the whole kit. And that's what our Warner Electric rep is working on right now with Alan Bradley. But he says he keeps getting passed on to different representatives in Alan Bradley, so.
Silicon would actually make sense to me.
Well, what happens with silicone dielectric grease is over time it hardens. So then you have the part seized into the socket, and that causes a different kind of issue. This grease from Allen Bradley doesn't do that because it's not silicone based.
The advantage of the silicon though is I can see that it would stay once it's
Right.
it wouldn't reach a point where it flags.
Yeah, this stuff has the same properties. It just doesn't have that hardening factor to it.
Interesting.
John, would it be the copper, the corrosion, like the patina that starts? I mean, is it really temperature or is it just the atmosphere?
It's the atmosphere. Okay, what I'm getting at is a grease typically changes its full properties with temperature. So it's going to fall away from wherever
No?
as the
Sure.
temperature. Yeah.
What about the PLCs? Are you having trouble getting the PLCs in, or has that been
Yeah,
holding you up?
on that last line, I say we ordered some of these PLC parts over 2 or 3 months ago now, and we're still waiting on the parts to come in. But most of the
Are
big
you,
parts-
you're ordering this from the same company as this, like Allen Bradley's, where do you?
Yep.
Okay, Allen
Warner
Bradley.
Electric is they're our supplier.
Okay. And is this like a whole different PLC? I don't know how you put it. They have to be programmed different?
They should be able to use most of the same logic. They have different communication ports on them, so we have to reroute the communication.
Ah, okay. Any other questions of Tyler? If not, Director of Engineering and Operations.
What's the range, when, you know, you were talking about the 5G units going up by the hospital or the high school, what's the range on it?
It wasn't much, they told
300 yards, I think.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Kind of similar to a Wi-Fi router that you have in your house.
Yeah.
It's about the same distance. Well, it's a little further. It's pretty close to the same.
So how big are these things? Do we supply the power to them?
We do supply the power, I'm guessing it's gonna be about this physically big on the pole.
There's a couple parts to it. There's the router, then there's the antenna that we're still working out if they go above the electric space and go on top of the pole. And then the whole piece on metering, if there's a meter on the pole, off the pole, and on a meter pedestal. So there's several pieces of equipment for each one of these installations.
So the $300 that they'll pay to install it on the pole plus we'll still collect on whatever power. It can't be a lot of.
Whatever it costs, like I said, if we gotta put in a taller pole, if we gotta move wires, all that is billable back to them.
They don't pay the monthly charge for energy, just like any other general service customer.
At this point, it's only 15, 16 locations or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
14, so.
And a lot of them, they had to go back and rework because they were looking at several streetlight poles, which are on controllers, so they don't have 24/7 power. So they had to go back and revisit where they want these and what's going to be the next best alternative.
Any other questions? with the general manager's report.
%13 increase for Davies.
Yes.
What's the range of increases that we're seeing?
Well, this is well, as far as tree service, this is the largest one-year increase we've got.
Yeah.
So, at the same time, we're getting increases for everything, so I guess I'm not too shocked.
And is that,
If we have another year like that, we may competitively bid it again, but we have such a good working relationship
Yeah.
with Davies. that it's-
but that contract, we have a contract, right? So with the rising fuel prices, we wouldn't get socked with that, right?
There's no fuel surcharges in that contract, I believe. It's just essentially we're paying the hourly rates for all their employees and equipment.
Okay.
We don't require them to work overtime or anything, do we?
They helped out a lot in our storm in 2019, we don't require, are they working 410s now? Yeah, but if we need their help, they're willing to come in, yes.
Okay, but they're not scheduled for,
I think they're obligated for emergency work, but not scheduled.
okay.
I guess I don't get that. How can you be obligated but not scheduled? The only way to be scheduled is it has to happen, right? So if we have a problem, they'll come in.
They have to come in.
They
They
have
have
to
to
come in if we request it.
But you can't schedule them
We
for
could,
like
we
an extra
just
10
have to
hours
pay it.
every week.
We could, we just have to pay it.
Ah.
We don't though.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is we're not incurring some overtime routine.
Just storm work, yeah.
All right, accounts payable?
Yeah, I see Nicolay, Combined Space Training, Water and Electric. How come you're not doing that?
When we have Mark come down, it's a lot more of a dedicated training with confined space. I can do it, not to say that I can't, but for an important job and for the jobs that have a little bit more hazards that way, we'd like to have someone come in. That's the way we've always done it. Not saying that that's the reason why, but
I would expect an expert like you would do that. To be honest, and then we wouldn't get charged double for it.
I consider myself an expert on many things. Confined space, I know enough to get by. I definitely know enough to get by, but I like to bring in the true experts that are dedicated to that specific topic when I need to.
Don't they put in a trailer that has the hatch and so that
Yep.
it serves as the training device, and then you can put your tripod on there and harness up and go down and.
We have training in it's a very safe, secure area with him bringing down the trailer and with the knowledge that he has. Yeah.
Okay,
Can somebody remind me, who is Elster Solutions?
They provide our electric meters.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I notice there's a lot of software charges in here. Could you come up with what our yearly subscription rate is for software?
Sure. I'll bring that next month.
Because I notice quite often there's quite a charge from, was it ESC? Can't think of it. The people that do our billing?
Oh, NISC?
NSC, that's it.
Sure. Sure, we can kind of pull up all the annual subscriptions we have and whatnot, and I'll put
Okay.
together something.
And what kind of truck did we go with, that TR-57?
It was a Ford, was it an F-350?
And the Beaver of Wisconsin, do we have a power washer in our,
We had it in the capital budget for
We had it in the
2022.
capital budget.
Right, we replaced the one we had, which was probably about 30 years
We
old.
got that when I came back 30 years ago, so.
And the painting for the pipe gallery with Van Aston painting, it's around $10,000. It seemed odd.
We budget every year $10,000 to have painting done within the building.
Okay.
So that's just one of the areas I haven't painted this year. So keeps up on.
Okay, so it's also like a contract and he'll paint up to that $10,000 value or?
Right, I give them an area to paint, and we paint up to the amount that we have budgeted.
Polymer / chlorine delivery charge. It's all,
That there is sort of a fuel charge, whatever, they deliver. We now have Hawkins deliver our chlorine, our fluoride, and our polymer. And we try to consolidate it so we don't have multiple trips. So like last time we delivered chlorine, all three of them, in one trip, so you try and cut down on that charge. So it's like a fuel charge, so to speak. It used to be $100 with the previous chemical supplier for chlorine. So we've dropped that down, 70 bucks off of that, and a lot better.
yeah, this is like $2,593. That's a hell of a lot of delivery charge.
Well, it's the polymer, the chlorine, plus the delivery charge. So they brought the chemicals
It's
plus
the
the
whole
delivery charge.
works.
It's everything. Yeah. So it'd been $2,500 for the polymer and the chlorine, and then 30 for the delivery
Yeah,
charge.
because delivery fee is only supposed to be 30 bucks.
Right.
I feel better.
Okay.
Maybe I'm missing it in here because I don't.
I was gonna volunteer to deliver your chlorine.
But saw the article about the PFAS and that we were getting additional PFAS testing. How quickly does that come around? And who does
We
that?
just
Somebody
got
up
our,
north?
we just got another test back, and we're again way below even negligible limits.
Okay. And who does that?
DNR lab, right?
We actually had this from going through Northern Lakes,
Okay.
Crandon.
Crandon, okay.
Yeah, there was only one of them that was even in the detectable range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the previous one.
right.
Yeah, 1.87 I think was
Yeah,
PFAS
it
or
was-
something.
We did the DNR 33 is what they recommended. So 33 different items or conformance, and they're all below, most of them are all below the detectable
Yeah.
level even, so we're in great shape, so.
Is that something we can put into the, what is it called, the newsletter that goes out with what is it called? Currents and waves or something like that. Because I think with all of the concern that's out there, it'd be good reassuring information for our
I have it on my
customers.
list already for April.
Good.
Credit cards, Lowe's Home Center, replace exercise equipment.
So we had a grant probably about 15 years ago for exercise equipment in the building for part of the health aid initiative that was going on at the time. And it gets used quite a bit, surprisingly, and that 15-year-old exercise equipment quit working, so we replaced it this year.
Oh.
So is it a
I didn't
treadmill
know
or
we
It's
had-
a treadmill.
I didn't know we had exercise equipment.
That's a cheap treadmill, yeah.
Any other comments? I think we ought to print this every week.
I was gonna say, I think we
I
need
mean,
to get
there's
back
way
to
too
the
many questions. It's so much easier to take notes.
Yeah, on paper.
And back and forth easy too. What do you think, John?
I've learned how to use the little yellow stickers, electronic stickers, so
Yeah.
I'm okay either way. But paper is great, just look at my license plate.
Why do you think I asked you?
His license plate says paper, for those that don't know. So.
Somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Also move.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, all in agreement.
Yay.
Yay.
All right, thank you.